Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TruthWorks. I'm Jessica Neal, your host, and I'm here with my co-host who keeps coming back for more, Peter Clark. Hi, Pete. How are you?
Hey, Jessica. How are you? Good,
Are
good.
you having a good day?
So far, so good. So
Okay.
it's only 11, you know,
I know. Well,
plenty of time.
it's about to get better. I'm 2 hours ahead of you, so I'm already
That's true.
in.
You're in the future.
I am.
So,
I'm in
all
the
right.
future. But more importantly, we have a guest on the show who we both know, and I don't even remember when I met her. It must have been when she was at LinkedIn. But we have just one of, I think, the most well known chief people officers around. Her name is Pat Wadors. She has been at some of the most iconic companies that you guys can think of, LinkedIn, scaling it. She was way back in the day at Yahoo, which was when it was in its heyday, I will say. And
hmm
then she is now at Intuitive. She was also at UKG, Procore, and she just keeps doing amazing things. I just asked her when she was going to retire. She basically said, as long as I'm having fun, I'm going. And she just wrote a book, which she's going to talk to us about as well. And I'm just so excited to have her because I know I always learn from her and she's always been so gracious to me with her time. And so I know all of you are going to learn from her too. So welcome to the show, Pat. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I think I want our listeners to get to know your story because you really do have an amazing story. So I'm going to go back. I think I read somewhere or listened to a video you were on at some point that said you knew you wanted to be in HR when you were 19 or something like that, which
Yes.
I mean, none of us really, any HR person that I have met has really not planned all of this. We've just kind of dropped in somehow. I certainly didn't at 19 know that HR was even a thing. So how did you know that? Tell us.
Uh, so it was, I guess, a bunch of amazing situational luck for me, probably is how I'll describe it. So I was in college. I was a freshman in college, and unfortunately, my mom passed my freshman year. And I was at a school called Louisiana Tech with my brother. We're Irish twins, so we're in the same grade together. And so I came back home to live with my dad in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I transferred to LSU. And I was a fine art major originally in college.
I was too.
I love fine art.
I
I mean,
know.
I
I
still
didn't
paint,
know
like the
that.
painting is behind me
Oh,
that I
that
did. So I
sure.
bring
Oh,
my,
nice.
yeah, so I
I love
do
that.
art, keep me grounded.
Hmm.
And one of my first showings, I was displaying my pieces. My dad was there, and I did this really cool piece with about an owl's eye, and it was a 3D dimensional, like stitching kind of thing. And I used the frame of an old barn
Hmm.
window frame. So it wasn't perfectly square. It was a really old barn window. And so it's kind of skiwad, but the whole thing was like the barn owl vibe. And I was super excited about this piece. And this woman walked by and she just kind of like, didn't, it's a little crooked, blah, blah, blah. And mind you, I am all of 18 years old kind of thing. And I'm like, really? You're dissing I mean, like, I can't believe she's doing that. And we're supposed to learn how to sell. That was one of the things we're supposed to learn in school. There weren't expensive pieces, but I didn't like her. I didn't like how she approached my art. I decided that she couldn't get my art. And there was this really nice old man that had walked by earlier. I'm like, I had a barn growing up, and we kind of like bonded over the owl. And I said, sorry, this man just bought it. So I lied and handed the guy the piece. And what I learned is that if I liked you, I'd give you my piece. And if I
Ah,
didn't like you, you couldn't buy my piece. So there's no money. And then when my mom passed, I went to LSU and went to the Career Center. And I'm like, help me, like figure out who I'm supposed to be. I'm not good in school. I'm a CD student. I love art. I'm creative in my thinking. I'm resilient. Help me out. And so I did a battery of tests, and she was like, what do you do for your disability? And I didn't know I had a disability at the time. She diagnosed me dyslexic in that meeting. And then she said, you like this thing, like you like teaching, social work, and this thing called personnel. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny. My dad and his twin brother are in personnel and let me interview them. And so I interviewed my dad and my uncle told me, and this is when I fell in love with the idea. He's like, Patty, HR, as we call it today, the operational expense of any company, on average, 80% is the cost of talent. That's globally. That's a fact. And so if you're manufacturing, it's less, of course, you're more capitally intense. If you're consulting like Accenture, it's 100% cost of talent. That is your secret sauce. So knowing how to hire, attract, retain, motivate, align, develop, manage that cost, manage that energy, you will outperform in the marketplace. And so I'm like, I just saw it as a speed car with like these magic dials. Like I can race. I know the temperature of the oil. I know the radio player, the whole bit, right? And he was like, so Patty, what do you want to be? A recruiter, a benefits analyst? And I said, no, I'm going to run HR. And he goes, no, really? I think, recruiting might be good because men were running HR at the time. I'm like, no, Uncle Roland, I'm going to run HR. You can help me or get out of my way kind of conversation. And he
Yeah.
ended up helping me. So I know not
Wow.
only did I want HR, I wanted to run it.
Right. Well, I mean, and the interesting thing is you had your dad and your uncle who were kind of in the field. What did they do?
Yeah.
So my dad was a personnel director for General Motors, which brought
Okay.
us down to Shreveport. So I was in New York for most of my life, and then he opened the Shreveport plant. And my uncle worked for McGregor Corporation, Fabergé.
Yeah.
He was a industrial relations VP, so he did a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
the international and work over there as well. So I'm like, I want to do this. So I got a BS degree in business administration, a minor in psychology, because they didn't have HR back then, as you
Nope,
know.
they
And
didn't.
so I'm like, I'm dating myself. And so I cobbled together an HR career curriculum with the help of Ramapo College in Mahwah, New Jersey. And I got an internship with Becton Dickinson in New Jersey. So I left my dad and I said, I'm going to pursue this, went on my own and pursued my career.
Wow.
Wow. Wow, that's so amazing. I mean, I feel like, again, the majority of us just don't know that. I mean, you've met so many CHROs and chief people officers, Pete. How many like knew that they were going to be that?
Very few. But even to have your dad and uncle actually say, hey, this is great. Like, we like it. That's probably the problem is most folks are like, oh, don't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. They inspired me. My dad
Yeah.
worked with the UAW, and so the union work I mean, I grew up knowing that was stressful,
Yeah.
but I also knew that he made work better for people. I mean,
Right.
that's what I want to do. I want to make work better for people. And so
Love
this
it.
seemed like the right chair to sit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you start your career out in New Jersey. And what
Mhm.
was your first job? Because
It was
you
the
weren't the head of
internship.
HR yet. Yes, it was an
No,
internship,
no,
and then
no.
and
I
then
I was filing papers and posting things and
yeah.
scrubbing lists. Yeah, no, not
And then did
by
you
any
like
stretch
go
of the
into
imagination.
benefits or like where did you go?
So, right out of college, I went to Employers Association of New Jersey. They supported the tri-state area, and there was about 10 of us there, and we were the catch-all 1-800 number for extra hands. So
Okay.
affirmative action, training programs, give us the
Oh,
policy
wow.
of this. So I was the first line defense. It was me and another woman that answered the call. We had an attorney on site. We had an affirmative action person on site. We had a trainer, and we would do the research. We do surveys. I'd call dozens, if not 100 companies to do surveying of compensation, of whatever needed.
Wow.
And one of our customers was Calvin Klein Cosmetics, and they made me an offer to be an HR manager. And
Oh,
I was maybe scratching 25. Like, I was super young to be a manager.
yeah.
So it was a humbling experience, to say the least.
Yeah, I bet. But that started your career on this amazing run. So take us to like when you get to the valley, I guess.
Oh, that
So
was
yeah, so
fun.
far it's
Yeah.
been what? Yeah, cosmetics, it's been labor relations, CPG, but okay. So yeah, how do you get to tech?
So my uncle was my coach, my mentor, my first decade of my career. He said, like, look, you have to learn the disciplines, the pillars of HR. If this is truly what you want, respect the the craft. And so I did that. I followed suit and I got a job at Viacom to do compensation. So it was MTV, the head day of MTV and Nickelodeon. And he was like, if you stay in the gig for more than 3 years, you'll be pigeonholed as an analyst. And I am dyslexic, so I do not want to spend my time in numbers. And sure enough, I got promoted to a senior analyst. I was super excited. My uncle calls me up, Patty, how's it going? I'm like, great, Uncle Roland. I got promoted as a senior analyst. He goes, how long you been in the job? I'm like, 3 years and 2 months. He goes, ooh, that's too bad. I go, what do you mean too bad? He was like, they're not going to see you as anything other than an analyst. You have to leave. I'm like, I love the company. No, no, no. This is so great. And he goes, try it. I dare you to prove me wrong. I interviewed at MTV, Nickelodeon, VH1. They all said no. They all saw me as an analyst.
Oh,
I couldn't bust a move. So I
wow.
interviewed. He was right.
Yeah.
I interviewed outside and got a job as a recruiter for Medco.
Okay.
And I changed industries. So when I started interviewing, they were like, oh, you're entertainment only. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, don't pigeonhole me. And
Yeah.
so I purposely changed industries, went into pharmaceutical, and then we got acquired by Merck. And then I convinced the head of sales of Merck to put me in sales to do account management while I was in New Jersey. And so he goes, how serious are you? I'm like, super serious, all of 28 years old of me. And he goes, all right, move to LA and do it in the next 48, 72 hours, and you got yourself a
Wow.
job. And I'm like, all I have to do is break up with my boyfriend and tell my dad and break up my lease. I can do it. I can do it. And I did it. And so I moved to LA, met my husband, worked in sales for about 3 years. And again, I had that clock in my head.
Right.
And then my husband and I went up to the Bay Area. And I'm like, if I can make it in New York, I can make it anywhere. If you can do HR in Silicon Valley, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is where I want to be. And so we moved, and I got a job at AMD, and then I got
Uh-huh.
recruited to Applied Materials. Was at Applied Materials for about 9.5 years. Jumped in and out of HR there, did operations, did legal integration, went back to HR, and then I got my first gig of head of HR at Align Technology. They do the Invisalign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, I got recruited to Yahoo as a VP, not even as the head of HR. I'm like, why are you doing that? And I said, to ride Yahoo,
Yeah.
the internet, like that's coming.
Yeah.
Like I could see around the corner. I'm like, that's the ride I want. And so I did Yahoo and got to work with Terry Simmel on a reorg, Jerry Yang for all the work that he was doing the reorg, and then with Carol Bartz when she came and I did the
Oh, wow.
legal integration. Yeah, I sold search to Microsoft, and then bounced out and did
That was the time to bounce out.
yeah, done. And went to Plantronics, did HR there, and then Jeff Weiner, who I worked with at Yahoo, courted me to go to LinkedIn in the very beginning when it was messy. And I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah. And
So
it was. I mean, how many people was LinkedIn when you started?
sub 3,000, like
Yeah.
2,700, something like that.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, he called me up. I was still at Plantronics and I was in the middle of my staff meeting and he goes, hey, Wadors, we're not paying people on time in India. Can you get on a call? I'm like, dude, I'm still in
I
my
work, I
company.
have a
Give me a
job.
minute.
Yeah.
Come on over.
I,
Free consulting first.
I've met him a few times and I've always really liked him. He seems like a very logical, good human.
And passionate.
Yeah.
Like he's super passionate.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
He gets me thinking.
yeah. So tell us like what that ride was like. I mean, LinkedIn was how many years were you there?
A little over 5,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. And you took it from 3,000 to, yeah. Yeah.
Something like that. We sold it to Microsoft and I stayed for a
Yeah.
year after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
How long was Jeff CEO when you joined? So I know he obviously took over for Reed. So then what was I mean, there was some
I
transition going on at LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think he was in the gig maybe a year and a half, 2 years. They just had
Okay.
gone public. Reed was still coming in the office, had an office next to Jeff. And David Henke also worked at
Oh,
Yahoo.
yeah.
So he called me over to LinkedIn and I met with a bunch of folks, but Jeff. And I'm like, when am I going to meet with Jeff? Like, he goes, well, Jeff knows you. I'm like, well, I don't know Jeff as a CEO. So let me talk to Jeff.
Yeah. Because it's different.
It's different.
And that relationship is so, so important for this role.
Yeah.
Oh, incredibly. It's a dance. I keep telling everyone it's a dance and you have to have the right dance partner. And I don't fit for everybody,
Yeah.
right? And not every CEO fits for me. And so
Right.
knowing how you'd want to dance is probably the wisdom that I've learned over time.
Yes. What was it like
I
to
do
dance
like
with?
that recruiting.
Go ahead.
I like that recruiting process of Jeff's though. Just like call you about a question and it's a foregone conclusion that you're joining LinkedIn.
Yeah, let's go. I have
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah. I have a problem. Come fix it. What was it like to dance with Jeff? Like, what kind of partner was he?
He was really good. I think what was great was the team. I joined at huge growth. I mean, just amazing, fast growth. And they had these small enough, but I could see, around the corner that they were going to have like these many different pods of culture coming. You had folks from Google, you had folks from startups, and so they were competing on methodology and what is talent, how do you do talent, and our shtick was talent, and so you can't have multiple personalities when you go to market. You have to like what is LinkedIn. And they had these amazing tenants and cultural moments, right? But I knew really quickly that they were fractured depending on how you touch the elephant, like who was seeing what and feeling what. And
Yeah.
so I knew Jeff couldn't fire me in the first 5 weeks. I thought I was pretty safe. So I was like, I went into a staff meeting. I said, Jeff, can I have like an hour of staff? He was like, an hour, Wadors? I'm like, yeah, I just need an hour. I just want to test a hypothesis I have. He was like, all right. And so I wrote on the whiteboard our cultural tenants. And I said, I want to make sure we're walking the talk. And they all got insulted. Of course we are. All 10 of them. Of course we are. And I'm like, let's just test it. And so one thing we had was open, honest, constructive. I mean, that was a huge tenet of ours. And I said, do you believe we're open, honest, and constructive? And Jeff's like, yes, we are. We told employees we're going public seconds before we told the world. We have all hands every other week. We're out there with the product and the finance and the employees and blah, 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 blah. He's so passionate, which I love. I'm like, that's great, but that's about the company. And I said, what about the other things? Like, what other things? I said, how many of you do a performance review of some sort? Mind you, we had like 5 different flavors. All 10 hands are raised. And then I go, great. How many of you have a rating scale of some sort to calibrate your talent? All 10 hands stayed up. And I said, how many of you share that calibration with your employees? Only 1 hand stayed up. David Henke's. And so I crossed out open, honest, and constructive. And I said, well, this shortens the list. Let's keep going. And Jeff goes, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you do it when it's convenient. The hard
Right.
stuff is when you talk to employees. And I
Yeah.
said, the business is easy, but if you really want to drive accountability and transparency and be constructive on what we need to scale, then you got to do the whole job. So either you want to do it or we don't want to do it. And Kevin Scott at the time was like, Pat, I see where you're going, but I'm anxious. We don't all do it now. So if we leave it up there, that means we're lying. And I said, no, they're aspirations. That's what we're building towards. If you leave that up there, I'll help you get there.
Yeah.
But y'all have to mean it. And if
Right.
you mean it with me, let's lock arms. And so we spent like 2 hours doing that work. And that was the beginning, the platform of how we
Yeah.
drove the culture.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to let Pete ask the next question because I just keep asking questions. I'm so excited. When you
All
think
good.
back at LinkedIn and like your favorite memory of that time or just something that you and the team did that you thought was not going to work, be impossible, what is that for you?
Gosh, I think for me personally and professionally is when I introduced belonging into diversity and inclusion. That came with a whole bunch of stuff, and I was asked to speak on a panel at the Professional Businesswomen's Conference in San Francisco. Lori was facilitating. She's a professor at Stanford. Being on a panel as an introvert is easy for me, so I wasn't really paying attention, Jessica, to the questions. Like, I'm like, yeah, I can answer a question. And then the week before, we're prepping, and she was like, hey, Wadors, do you mind doing a TED-like talk before the panel? I'm like, about what? She was about diversity. I'm like, well, aren't we going to diversity conference? Shouldn't they know why they're there? Like, I don't need to talk, like, because I don't like being a solo artist on the stage.
Me neither.
And she was like, I don't want you to talk about diversity as a thing, as a noun. I want you to talk about how you feel about D&I. And at that point in my career, no one ever asked me. I must have written dozens of affirmative action plans. I must have fixed pay equity in many locations, in many ways. I must have educated leaders on how to treat employees fairly and reduce bias. I've never been asked how I felt.
Mm.
And so I said, I need to think about that. And I spent the night thinking about it. And I came back the next morning. I was at like 3 a.m. in the morning. It hit me that only when I belong to a team, like uniquely me, my quirky me, I'm pretty quirky. So if I can belong the way I want to be, my hair would be pink or purple. I've had my hair all different colors. if I could be me and you still want me at that table and listen to me, then you get the best of me, right? And I believe that to be true with everybody. And so I'm driving in the office and Jeff Weiner loves a tagline, like really short acronyms. And so I'm like, how do I get Jeff's attention? And so I realized that diversity, inclusion, belonging, dibs. I can call dibs on belonging. Come into the office. I teed up for this conference. They loved it. I teed it up to Jeff, and Jeff goes, "That's kitschy." And then I'm like, but it's meaningful. Like there's research done about belonging, like by your brain. Like I think they belong together. No one's brought them together. I think they belong together. And he goes, if you believe it that strongly, you can do it within LinkedIn. And I said, well, I'm going to do it everywhere. Like not only LinkedIn, but everywhere. I'm going to give it to the world because I think it matters that you can be your authentic self in the sense that, professionally speaking, but be welcomed. And that was something special for me.
Yeah. And you were ahead of the times. Yeah. That's
It made
really
a
cool.
difference.
Yeah, it
I
did.
remember we launched it, kind of like grassroots. Because remember, Jeff wasn't too sure about it.
Right.
And it caught on, and this engineer quit Apple and joined us. We'd been courting the senior engineer for a long time, and he joined us, and he asked to speak to me, and he goes, "The reason why I came to LinkedIn is because of belonging."
Hmm.
He goes, "I didn't feel like I belonged at Apple. The
Yeah.
fact that you care about this means I may belong here, and I'm gonna try." And I'm like, "This makes me so happy."
No, that's so good. That's so good. So, Pete, I'm going to give you the next question because I was going to ask another one, but I'm going to stop myself. You go.
No, go ahead.
No,
Uh,
do it.
all right. Well, I was just saying, so there's your demonstrable ROI on, your DIBS program for Jeff, right? But I was going more to kind of the CEO relationships. I think prior to Jeff, I guess, would you have like thought you knew what you were looking for, when it comes to a partner and the CEO? And then, I think to that point, what do you think are a characteristic or two that actually makes a CEO stand out and be successful? You could argue obviously Jeff was quite successful as a CEO and first time CEO into
Mm.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But just is there, what sort of characteristics or traits stand out to you that just seem to predict a successful leader of a company?
I think when I was first time CHRO, and I think even before I became the CHRO, I was looking for some of these elements. I don't think I crystallized it. I just wanted the seat, right? I,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted
Yeah,
someone to hire me in the seat and give me a shot. And I wanted someone to have talent on their agenda. So Tom Prescott was the CEO at Align, ex-GE. So you know the GE
Yeah.
yeah,
culture, talent was a huge thing. So not only did he care, but I got to learn from him, right? Like the real pragmatic use cases of what they did in GE. So that got me stoked. I think someone that is willing to listen to different points of view and engage and ask questions before they make a statement is what I learned over time that I really needed to help me flush out my thoughts or the team's thoughts and be open to ideas. Someone that was willing to be wrong,
Mm.
right? Like say, okay, I am wrong. Like
yeah,
let's go down this different path. My hunger to learn was growing, right? From LinkedIn, I got exposed to so many amazing companies. I got to work with Burberry. I got to work with JP Morgan Chase. I got to work with so many of our customers about their talent strategies, their struggles. Why couldn't they
yeah.
hire people and, engineers and fintech and blah, blah, blah. And so touching the world in so many different tastes was like nirvana for my soul. And when John Donahoe joined ServiceNow and the search firm called me up and said, "Hey, are you interested in leaving LinkedIn?" And we'd just been acquired by Microsoft. And I said, "No, I want to stick around a while longer." And they called me back about, I don't know, 6 weeks later. And they said, "We talked about you. John really wants to meet you." And I'm like, I'm not dating. Dating turns to marriage. I'm not dating. And so they're like, "All right, just have dinner with him or dessert, coffee with him. He just wants to
It's
pick
not
your
a
brain
date,
on what you."
right?
It's
Yeah.
not a date. It's
It's
just
just
coffee.
dessert, Pat.
I know. And so he
Uh,
actually had dinner with someone else, and then I had dessert with him in the same restaurant. It was so funny. And 2 hours flew. 2 hours flew at that meal, right? That one piece of dessert, and we're writing on the tablecloth, and it was paper. And we were writing ideas. He was telling me who he was as a human being. And I looked at my watch. I'm like, oh my God, it's turning into a date. I gotta run. I'm like, it's gotta go. I gotta go. And so I'm like, goodbye, John. It's been great. He gave me a big hug. And I run out of that restaurant. And I call my husband. I'm like, I am so screwed. And he goes, why? And I go, I'm going to work for John Donahoe. I feel it. It's just going to happen. And so I get pinged on my phone and it's John. And John goes, I promised I wouldn't date you. I didn't say we wouldn't get married. Will you work for me?
Yes.
Awesome.
And I mean, and that, you joined ServiceNow when, it was sort of on that big rise as well.
Yes.
So, I mean,
No one knew ServiceNow.
yeah,
Jeff Weiner was like, all right, is that a help center? And I'm like, oh, dude, it's going to be amazing. Like, wait
yeah.
till you find out what it's about. Yeah, that was a great ride
So
too.
you've been on these, at these companies at these pivotal inflection points, right? And those are really, I mean, maybe in your career you get one or two. You've had many. What's it like being the leader of, I guess people leader, HR, whatever you want to call it. What's it like being the leader when things are moving so fast and you are scaling and everything has to get done now, yesterday, right? And like you said, it's messy because I'm sure when you came into ServiceNow, it was pretty messy as well.
Totally messy. They
Yeah.
didn't even have HR business partners.
Yeah.
They barely, yeah, that it was really messy. Um, but I love that. I love co-create. I mean, if you ask me what I look for, I want leaders that will co-create with me. I think of HR as a product, right? A series of products. So I like agile development methodology, co-creating with the business voice, prioritizing that, and iterating, right? Like you put a product out and you get feedback and then you correct what's wrong, right? And you
Yeah.
let ride what works and let them absorb the change, right? And being savvy to know the difference. If something's really broken, you got to fix it. And some things you just let ride. I I've learned to prioritize. I've learned to be really pragmatic. I don't get ruffled easy. Like I've not met a problem I haven't fixed some way, somehow. Like it may not be in the timeline I wish. I've made my fair share of mistakes and been humbled, but I've gotten stronger through them and my team has gotten stronger. It's first principles thinking.
Hmm.
It's about the employee. It's about a healthy company. It's about the customers we serve. If you just stay focused on that, everything becomes less noisy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's and you and I see it. I'm sure you mentor a bunch of other CHROs as do I.
Yes.
And it's really easy to slip into doing a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. And it's really hard to stay focused and do the few things that actually move the needle. And it's not boiling the ocean and doing everything. It's doing a few things and doing them extremely well. But it's such a hard thing to do, especially I am sure you've felt this in your role. There's just an added pressure in this role that I think the other C-level roles don't have. Well, one, we're like everything under the sun, chief medical officer, chief diversity officer, COO. Now you're the chief AI strategist. So congrats, you got that
Yes.
job too,
Yeah. Yeah.
which we'll have to talk about what you're doing because everybody's very curious. But then I think the added headwind that this role has that other roles don't is that everybody thinks that they can do your job better. And everybody has an opinion and questions your
Mhm.
strategy different than they do the chief product officer or the chief finance officer. Like they don't question them the way that they question you. How have you navigated that dynamic?
I think the best example I had was actually at LinkedIn because it was a talent company. Like, and you're right,
Mhm.
every company's had that. Different leaders come with their bag of tricks, and then you're just arm wrestling or trying to influence. And I've learned not to argue, but to actually dive in, like what problem we're solving. How there's many ways to solve a problem, but
Yeah.
the example I had, we were at a leadership offsite and with the executive team, and I was struggling because we had agreed as a business team to do something to align on our performance management system, to be transparent on our comp and our ratings. And then the head of sales was like, well, maybe not now for us. Maybe I'll follow. And so I'm like playing whack-a-mole. Anyone that gets scared, they'd like, maybe I'll go later. And so I had so much ownership and I realized that that was such a huge mistake. Like, it's not my decision. It was a business decision. Like, change our decision, fine, but you don't get to decide in isolation to change the business. That's how we got here. So if you think materially we've forgot something, let's bring it back up to the leadership team and go have at it. Like, I'm not wedded. Like, I can go many different paths by letting go of my hubris about like and recognizing that if the business grabbed it, we all win.
Yeah.
So learning how to do that was key. And in this offsite, Gamson was like struggling with some stuff because he really wanted his own mentoring program and like had all these great ideas. And I'm like, we can't do all of it. And the head of product turns around and goes, I know what the problem is. I go, what's the problem? He goes, you're a dentist, Pat. I go, I'm a dentist? It's like so left field. I'm like, deep. I don't think I'm a dentist, but okay, let's go. What do you mean by that? And he goes, the problem is we're all dental hygienists. We can see teeth, we clean teeth, we polish teeth, but we don't do root canals and we don't do cavities. Like you went to school for that at a much deeper level than we ever did. So we play in the mouth and you're actually like in there helping us get healthier in the mouth in a deeper way. And so you're a dentist. And I'm like, okay, never, I'm a dentist. And then Gamson turns to me and goes, but I'm a dentist too. And I said, no, you're malpracticing.
Yes.
So let's have a conversation. And we bonded over that. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So
But and
Love the analogy.
yeah, I know. And I feel like we need to find something better than this because nobody likes going to the dentist.
that's
You
why I
know?
was like a little bit scared.
I
Like,
know.
"Dee, please
But
no."
it is a good analogy that does make sense. So what else do you want to know, Pete?
Actually, yeah, I mean, so you mentioned earlier too, like seat at the table. It seems like, and I think Jessica, you were pointing out some of the challenges associated with the role. But I mean, and clearly the both of you have done quite well being a respected business partner in the business. And I think that tends to be the question for a lot of folks. If they want the seat at the table, but they don't get it. And yeah, I'm just curious if there's one or two things that just sort of cause that divide to happen, or, ultimately it just seems to, like, once that trust is lost or that lack of respect is there, it only grows. It doesn't ever, it's hard to
I've
recover.
seen that.
It
I'm
is.
just curious if there's advice around, how do you maintain sort of that respected business partner view, then, sort of get relegated to the sidelines of HR.
Yep.
So, I Jessica, I think HR is magic, right? I think I have the coolest gig in the whole entire company. I really do. I laugh most days. I enjoy the peers I get to work with and the employees I get to meet. Like, I really heartfelt care. Um, I think the seat and the influence comes from being authentic. You got to be an authentic leader. The role is scary. Like, if you're not approachable, then you're the emperor with no new clothes. Like, you're naked,
Yeah.
right? And so, being an authentic HR leader is super incredibly important and not be all buttoned up and polished. Like, admit that you are experimenting and learning with the company to make it better and better and better. And then you get a lot of grace. The other thing I do intentionally is to learn the business, like what metrics matter, right? I've been on field rides. I've spent 7, 8 hours standing in an OR watching surgeries with Da Vinci to understand the field, right? Understand the surgeon, understand the patient. I spent 3 days in a finance class to understand how they look at the P&L and revenue and margin and a whole bunch of stuff, right? That's unique to us. The language, the product reviews. I call it chasing the right rabbit. If my metrics don't resonate with the business, they won't listen.
100%.
And so I need to make sure it has real value. And sometimes we measure now, I don't mean this in a distasteful way, but sometimes we measure attendance in our classes, our net promoter score of our facilitator, like our
Yeah.
dropout rate was only 20%, not the 25. Like, must be a great class. And whatever, right? And that's the wrong metric to like really what are you doing it for? What's the
Yeah.
knowledge you want to acquire and how's it impacting the business for good?
Yeah.
Like, take it all the way down, and if you do that, then you're welcomed at the conversation.
It's so
Yeah.
true. It's so true. I mean, you've got to spend time learning the business, and I'll talk to CHROs, and I'll say, have you ever gone and sat and watched the engineers code?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. I'm like, what? go watch them code, go learn what they do. They don't understand what they do. But I mean, even at Netflix, I mean, I went to sets because I wanted to understand production and how unions worked. And, and, it's everything from the people that are doing makeup and costume to the people that are building the sets. And,
Yes.
yeah, and you have to I mean, long story. On one production, we lost a few fingers. And I was like, why are we losing so many fingers?
That's a whole story, Pete, that we
It's
should
a
ask
story.
another time.
But anyways, you learn these things when you learn the business. But we didn't have the right saw that would detect
Oh,
moisture. I was like, can we buy the saw? Isn't that cheaper than what we're yeah, anyways. But anyway, you got to go learn the business, but I don't think
Yeah.
enough
yes.
people go and learn the business. And then when you do, you have you're talking from that point. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that
problems.
language.
Yes, and you're talking about the problems that we're going to solve and how you're going to impact the bottom line, not some program that you're going to roll out
Yes.
that nobody cares about. Right.
Right.
And oh, by the way, you're just doing that program because you heard whatever company's doing it,
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you thought about this for yourself, but I think HR is magic too when it's done well.
Oh, good.
When it's done well, when it's not done
Mm,
well, it's not so magical. But
I know.
but when it's done well, it's amazing. But I always thought about my job as being the chief efficiency officer. Like I was there to make people more effective, make the business more effective, get more alignment, get things out of the way so that we could move faster and have a better chance of winning.
I like that.
Yeah. Because I always hated being called HR. By the way, can we or
Right.
even people officer? I don't know.
I know. I've been called everything in the book. Good things and bad probably, but like chief talent and chief people and,
Yeah.
call it a different name. It's still
Trying
the
to make it less
advocate.
distasteful. Yeah.
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 Like.
I know. Yeah.
But I think that's back to summing that up is just it seems that it diverges when, generally speaking, whoever is responsible for people, HR, whatever, is just starts speaking a different language that doesn't seem to relate to the business. And, Pat, you mentioned first principles and we hear that a lot in our world, first principles thinking, right? And then, sometimes it's that meme where you're like, I don't think that means what you think it means, right? Like you can't just say it.
Right.
Like
No.
You have
there's
to
literally
be
something
first
to do
principle.
there. Right.
You have to
So
discuss it. Like you say this and I say that. Are we saying the same word or not?
yeah,
And why
Yeah.
not? Yeah.
Yeah.
The
it's just that I mean
translation.
that's probably the one biggest knock or bit of feedback that comes from folks interviewing their head of people, the CHRO, whatever you want to call it, which is just they don't understand the current business they're in, right? Simple questions around, even just margin and revenue and what do you like, how do you make money as a company? Well, why is that important? It's like, well, seemingly should be something you care about
Yeah.
because then otherwise, again, no one will respect what you bring to the table if ultimately they don't think you have any idea of how the business is run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you won't know if your attrition is because your sales plans aren't aligned with the
Yeah.
challenges in the marketplace. You won't know if the territory and the quota is right. You won't know about the code and the succession planning and, building up your fellows and the future development life cycle of that product. I mean, there's so many things that will get you if you don't pay attention to business.
Yeah.
There are so many things that will get you. I mean, this role is not for the faint of heart. That is for
No,
sure.
I dream it. I dream it sometimes, like, "That's bothering me, like, what am I missing?" Like, if I think about this, if I'm presenting the board, and my husband's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Never mind."
I know. I have so many work dreams. I still have work dreams about Netflix, and I haven't been there for a minute.
That's
So,
so funny.
which is weird. I need to
We'll
let it
fix it
go.
all with AI though. Yeah.
Yeah,
No. So
probably,
that's
probably. Okay, so I want to hear about Intuitive because I think it's a fascinating company, and I
yeah.
also want to spend some time talking about the book. So tell us about Intuitive, and you were just saying how you watched the surgeries, and I don't know if many people know Da Vinci, but explain it. Tell us.
So it's Da Vinci robot, it's robotic assisted surgery. basically RAS is what you would hear. And Da Vinci has multi-port, which is 4 arms, and a surgeon can use 1, 2, or all 4 arms. You have a single port product. You also have a product called Ion that helps with lung biopsies and treatments. They can diagnose lung cancer in stage
Oh,
1.
wow.
Like,
Wow.
it's an amazing technology for the world. There is, gosh, we do colon, we do hernias, hysterectomy. I had a hysterectomy with the Da Vinci
Oh, wow.
back in 2019. I was having pain and fibroids and like, oh my God, so much pain. It was impacting my life. And my surgeon was like, hey, you need to get a hysterectomy. I'm like, what? Just get it out. Like, I was ready. And she was like, I'm a robotic surgeon. I'm like, whatever, just get it out. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just make me feel better. I have a life to live. I have 3 kids. And I go into the surgery. I go in the OR, and I wasn't put under quite yet. And she thought I was really fascinated about the robotic surgery, which I wasn't even thinking about. And there you see, in my mind, the Borg. It was this machine with the 4 arms wrapped in plastic against the wall. And then there's this console on the other side of the OR where the surgeon does her magic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, this thing is operating on me and you're over there and
Wow.
I'm here. And I walked out of that hospital. I could have worked the next day.
Wow.
Like, I was cooking dinner that night. It
Wow.
was the most incredible experience. And I'm like, the care for the patient, the quality of life, getting people back to what matters most. That's what robotic surgery does.
Yeah.
And so when this opportunity came on, and it feeds in with the book. So I talk about having a personal scorecard, and it's how my husband and I want to live our lives,
Hmm.
and me personally and professionally. Like, how do we make decisions? What's the best decision for us? And so in my personal scorecard, I had my first granddaughter. So in one of my cards, I said, I'm going to see Everly once a quarter because I'm traveling all over the world. And then I have physical fitness. I have like time with my husband to ride bikes. I have a daughter with special needs. And so I have these things outlined. And 2 years ago, my grandson Emmett was born April 1st. And I made sure I was on the West Coast for that. I was so good at my scorecard. And I'm holding Emmett and I'm crying. I'm like in love already. And my son, God love him, goes, Mom, according to your scorecard, you're going to meet Everly like once a quarter. If you go by your scorecard, you'll have met Emmett and Everly 72 times by the time they're 18. Some outrageously low number.
Right.
And I just started bawling. Like, he's so mean. So I'm like, that's not right. And he goes, well, that's what you said is your score. And I'm like, no, I want them to call me Nana, Nana, Nana and run to me and not see me as a chicklet. And
Yeah.
I want a relationship with them. And oh my gosh. And I said, I have not lived my life, my scorecard. And
Right.
so it's the tortoise and the hare is the analogy. And the tortoise runs life her way. And so I have a tortoise and a hare on my neck.
How cute.
I
This is a
left
turtle.
UKG. Yay!
Yeah.
And so I left UKG and I said, I had gotten a call from Intuitive in the past, but what I said is like, I want my perfect zone. I want
Right.
a company that's growing, that has impact in the world. I want to be near my kids where I can spend quality time with my daughter and my grandchildren, not be just a chicklet. I want to have a company that is going through that tipping point, that growth, that transformational moment in the world, because I know it has it in front of it. Even though it's a 30-year-old company, the future, like
Yeah.
especially with digital and AI now embedded in the product, is changing the landscape. And thinking about how you go outside the US and really making this kind of care available to all. And they do telepresence surgery now. You can have the best surgeon in France operate on you in Texas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I thought it was
Pretty
crazy.
freaky.
cool.
They were 10 feet apart in the OR. Like, you're like
Yeah. Ocean. Yeah.
ocean apart.
Hope the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi holds up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have special agreements to make sure we're all good on that
Yeah. What
front too.
happens if
But
the Wi-Fi goes down?
no, we got special lines. So
Okay.
they work on
Dedicated
that.
line. Dedicated line.
Yes. Because healthcare really, people care. And so
Yeah.
for obvious reasons.
Right.
And so it hit all my scores. Like I am in my bullseye moment in my life. And when
Cool.
you
I
ask
love
me, am I going to retire? I'm like, I am having so much. I am living my scorecard.
Yeah.
I'm having dinner with my grandkids tonight. I live my purpose. We're growing the company. I have an amazing CEO that is so smart and caring and compassionate and humble and a peer group. And my relation with my CFO is probably the best I've ever had with a CFO. And I've had some good
Nice.
ones.
Yeah.
It's just intuitive is special.
Yeah.
It's changing the world and it's making people's lives better. And I want to be a part of that.
Oh, that's
Love it.
amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, you are living your scorecard. I need to
I
create.
am.
You are. I need a scorecard. I'm gonna do a scorecard. Okay.
Do a scorecard.
Tell us about the book.
So I'm an accidental author. That was not something I picked up when I was 19. Being dyslexic, writing would be something really hard for me to consider doing long form. And it was probably like 2.5 years ago, Wiley Publishing called me up and said, hey, would you consider writing a book about HR? And I was really quick and said, no way, I'm not doing it. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I stand on the shoulders of so many amazing humans that do the craft. Like, it would not be my space to write,
Right.
right? Like I've got stories, but no, I'm not going to write about HR. But thank you. And so it's like, thank you. And she's well, what would you write about? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Similar to Dibs, I had to give it some thought. No one ever asked me if I could write anything. What would I write about? And it took me 2 months. I came back and I said, if you would allow me to write a book about the way I teach and talk, because of the way my brain works, I talk in stories. The
Hmm.
Emperor with No Clothes, Touch the Elephant. I anchor on these moral stories and live my life. And she was, well, write it up. We'll see what the editors think. And so I took my top 9 fables and folk tales that I've taught for decades to CEOs, like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Like, no, you're just right fit. And so I wrote it up and they're like, yes. I'm like, oh shit, really? Ooh. Like,
You can cuss on
so
here.
It's
they're
kind
like,
of
yeah.
neat.
Yeah.
And she was like, "How long will it take you to write?" And I'm like, I don't know." And so because I'm an operator in my head, I'm like, "I could do a chapter a week." And like, what do you think? 10 chapters? How many words? I'm like, I don't know, 10 weeks. I don't know, 3 months, 4 months. And she was okay. And I'm like, All right." And then I was supposed to get it done. This is like November. We're still negotiating the contract. It was supposed to be done April 1st. And then I got a panic attack. And I'm like, that's too short. I didn't think to call anybody up. And so I called her back and I said, Lee, can I get an extension on that deadline for the manuscript? She's like, sure. She goes, how much do you need? And I said, 2 more weeks, a little cushion. So
Yeah.
she was like, sure. And so it was April 15th. And then I go, well, I have help. And like to proofread my work. And she goes, we have a design editor that'll look at the structure and all that, and then off and running you go. I mean, the woman saw my first chapter, my one core chapter of the fable of my construct, and that was it. They didn't see a manuscript till mid-April.
Wow. Amazing.
And I was like, I was pressing send and my heart was palpitating.
I'm sure. Because it's so vulnerable to
Well,
put
they
all
like it.
of that
Yeah.
down and do it yourself. Was
It
it,
was all me.
yeah, was it pretty cathartic?
I laughed, I cried. I had so much fun writing this book. I forgot, like, the tortoise is like a friend of mine. I talk about the 3 pigs and setting goals in life and why and what's the impact you want to have. You don't write a goal just to have a goal. You write a goal to have an impact, and the impact is to protect yourself, and that's why the one brother did the bricks and protected
Right.
his family. Like, know
Right.
the impact. And these things remind, like, Mulan and your authenticity. And so I reconnected with these fables in a way, and I would share them with people along the way. Like, does this resonate with y'all? Like, I talk about belonging in the book. I talk about my own journey of mistakes and not and faubles and learnings along the way. And from across different types of careers and age, they were like, yes. Like, the scorecard resonated. I had women, my peers, I'm like, I don't have a scorecard. I need to write a scorecard.
See?
Mm.
I know. I need a scorecard. Gonna
And
do
it
it.
changes how you make a decision.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty powerful. And I felt so good. And I giggle when I get to talk about it. Like,
That's so good. Okay,
it's
so
a
if
giggle book.
it's a giggle book, so if people want to buy your giggle book, where do they go?
Amazon has it. I have it. I have my own website, wadors.com. You can do audiobook as well. They did it in audio. Check it out.
Nice.
It's a workbook too. So I convinced Wiley to put the workbook section in the back, and I teach you how to do a scorecard. I teach you how to do your Goldilocks spreadsheet. I teach you how to do these things. So it's a one and done thing. And then one of my dear friends from Plantronics, Darren Caddis, did the illustrations for me in
Oh,
ink.
wow.
And so they're original illustrations of each of the fables
Oh,
and a portrait of me and
oh,
Darren's pictures in there.
Pat, you've just done so much. Stop doing stuff. I'm telling you, you just keep making us look bad over here.
No.
Say,
That was
that's why I don't want a
accidentals.
scorecard myself, because I'll be like, no, it's just I'm not hitting it.
I know. I'll be massively disappointed all the time in
I
myself.
hope you guys check it out and just read
We
one
will.
chapter. Let me know what you think. I would love to get your opinion.
No, I've read some, and it's very good. I didn't do the
Did you?
score. Yes, it's very, very good. So I did not do the
Oh, thank you.
scorecard, but I need to do it, and you've inspired me today. But we are running out of time, unfortunately. So, which I'm really sad about, because unfortunately it took us a podcast to catch up. We should hang out and
More often.
have dessert.
Yes, have dessert.
We'll have dessert.
Yes.
But at the end of the show, we always ask our guests to leave our listeners with something inspiring, something that you want them to go away and think about. So what do you want to leave the listeners with today?
So on my desktop and on my laptop, I have this one question. I don't know if y'all can read it.
I can't. And I even
It
have on my old
says-
lady glasses.
It says, "Who am I going to be today?" So
Oh.
every day you have a choice. You have a choice to look at the world as an opportunity to choose happiness, to choose positivity, and how you show up. And when I am down, when I'm struggling, I remind myself, who am I going to be today empowers me. So I hope people feel empowered.
I love that. Now I have to have a Post-it note too. I mean, gosh,
Right?
Pat,
Scorecard, a Post-it
I gotta
note.
get Post-it
All
notes. I
right.
gotta get a scorecard. I mean,
But you got the turtle. You got the
I
turtle.
do have the
Started
turtle
there.
necklace. Yes, I do have the
that
turtle
you
necklace.
run your own way.
I have a
That's the
tattoo of a
turtle.
turtle. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
See?
I don't, but I will.
I'm gonna get
Everyone
you
gets
one, Pete.
tattoos of a turtle.
I'm gonna get you one. And listen, I'm so grateful for you, Pat. I'm so thankful that you came on the show. I'm just admire all the things that you do. I really want to give thanks to your uncle.
Right?
I didn't know that
Aw.
part of the story. He deserves a little, because he
Yeah,
pushed
he
you. You would have been an analyst forever.
Yeah, he pushed me.
Yeah, yeah. We all need that person. So good job,
Great
Unc.
advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you. And I hope you'll come back and talk to us when you write your next book.
Thank you so much.
All
And now you
right.
know how quickly you can do it. So
Yeah,
you
right?
don't
Yeah,
need that
4.5
cushion.
months.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Just write it out.